Welcome back. Let's talk about wildfire locations. Where are these things located? When we're talking about human-caused fires, again, on average, over kind of a 19-year study in this case, about 60,000 fires were started each year. In general, human-caused fires, the vast majority of them happen in the southern or eastern portions of the U.S. Definitely the South. For some reason, they cause a lot of fires down there in the South. I don't know. Were they burning stuff? They blown off fireworks? Who knows what they're doing? Who knows what they're doing? But again, most human-caused fires tend to be in the South or in the East. Relatively little kind of out West. And when it comes to acres burned from human-caused fires, again, Southern burns a lot. When it comes to lightning-caused fires, though, the Southwest and the West in general, much higher numbers. When we're looking at over, I guess, this same 19-year study, just under 10,000 fires each year. So again, the Southwest tends to have more lightning-caused fires, but the West in general, all right, the West in general, more open spaces, and the more chance for lightning to start something out in nature. As far as acres burned from lightning strikes, the vast majority of that happens in Alaska. Even though in the Southwest we get the most sheer number of wildfires started, you got to remember the Southwest is pretty dry. It doesn't have a lot of vegetation in general. Whereas Alaska, if going back, it only gets 187 lightning-caused fires per year on average, but it burns over 1 million acres. Again, wilderness out in the middle of nowhere, let it burn. It's natural. It's what nature does. Looking back at 2020, these are statistics for the different states and the number of fires versus the number of acres burned. All right. So you can see California, #1 for both. California had a pretty bad year. Arizona, #3 for both as far as number of fires, whether it's human or lightning caused, and acres burned. Just short of 1 million acres burned. But these states, let's see, West, the South, West, West, South, Southwest, East, South, West. So again, mostly South or in the West. Again, West tends to be more lightning caused. South tends to be more human caused. But hey, doesn't matter how it starts. Sometimes fires can get big. They can be small. It just depends. Looking at these are looking at potential of a risk from wildfire. So these are the top 10 states at high to extreme wildfire risk. California, as far as number of properties are concerned, California is #1. So in general, there are over 2 million properties in California that are at risk for wildfire damage. Arizona, #4 on that. As far as the percent of properties, the percent of homes and businesses at risk, well, 2 million homes equates to about 15% of all of the homes in California. Whereas in Montana, you can see there's only 137,000 properties at risk, but that's almost 30% of what's in Montana. There's not a lot in Montana. So 30%. So if you live in Montana, you have a 1 in 3 shot of your house essentially being at risk for wildfire. That's a lot. But again, Arizona, 8%. So 8% of all structures in Arizona are at risk for wildfires. I mean, that's almost every house in Prescott. That's almost every house in Flagstaff. Obviously, Phoenix area, Tucson area, relatively low. Kind of moving forward with some more statistics. These are the top 10 costliest wildfires in the U.S. You can see most of them happening in the 2000s due to climate change, but also due to people typically moving and building things where they probably shouldn't. I have this column hidden as far as states because of so this is the top 10 costliest wildfires ever in the U.S., all in California, every last one of them. Due to downed power lines, electrical, power lines, lightning, power lines, lightning. So a lot of human-caused downed power lines, a couple lightnings, a few unknowns as well. But the Camp Fire in 2018, over 10 billion over $10 billion. This happened a few years ago. 85 deaths, one of the most deadly wildfire seasons, single event in recent history. Over 100,000 acres burned, 18,000 structures, etc. So actually, in a lot of cases, some of these aren't huge wildfires, because in order for them to have property damage costs, they have to be in areas where there's people. So if they're in areas where people, there's probably less fuel and wildfire teams fighting these fires to put them out. So they tend to be smaller on average. I know 150,000 acres sounds big, but it's a medium size. So where in the U.S. Are the biggest wildfires and why? They're in the West. So when we're talking about a big wildfire, it's 250 acres or bigger. 250 acres, I'll give you a reference. That's about the size of Estrella Mountain campus. Well, 4 times Estrella Mountain's campus. So our campus is about 65 acres. So that's almost 4 times that is just a little over 250 acres. So you take our campus times 4, that's what's considered a big wildfire. Whereas, you might not think that's a big area, but that's all of it on fire or more. So from 1980 to 2003, where did most of those bigger fires occur? Well, in the West. Right, in the West. Again, you get a lot of human-caused fires in the South and in the East, but they're more populated, so they tend to be smaller and get put out faster. But in the areas that are spread out, way out in the middle of nowhere, we tend to get much more bigger fires. So Alaska, the West, etc. And again, a big fire is 250 acres or more, so that's about 4 times the area of campus. Now, as far as the largest Arizona wildfires, so kind of going in backwards, 2019, the Woodbury Fire, 123,000 acres, caused by human activity. The Bush Fire, last year, 174,000 acres. Vehicle fire, pulled over, this vehicle caught fire, overheated on the side of the road, burnt the brush, caused a fire. The Horseshoe 2 fire in 2011, 222,000 acres, human activity, so human. The Cave Creek Complex, 2005, lightning, okay, there's a natural one. The Rodeo Chedinsky fire, it was actually a pair of fires that merged into one big fire, so 468,000 acres. So in the first part, the rodeo fire, a firefighter was looking for work, so he started a fire to create a wildfire so he could have a job, he could be hired on to become a wildland firefighter. Yeah, he got 10 years in prison for that one. And then the Chedinsky fire, a hiker whose car ran out of gas, purposely set a fire. He didn't think it was going to grow to wildfire status, but he purposely set a fire to get attention of a news helicopter that was flying on the way to the other fire, to the rodeo fire. I don't know what happened to that guy, but again, just dumb and dumb coming together caused Arizona's second biggest wildfire. And then the Wallow Fire, mentioned a little bit ago, over 500,000 acres due to a campfire. So mostly human. Mostly human in this case, which is somewhat rare because typically the lightning ones cause the more acres burned, but you never know. So the Wallow Fire kind of burned off on the kind of eastern edge of Arizona, and this is New Mexico. So here's Globe, here's the I-40, so it kind of burned out in this area here over by Eager, Alpine, up in the White Mountain area. Lovely area. Can you guess from where it started? Remember, think of a V. Can you guess from where it started? All right, maybe right here in this area. So this is over 522,000 acres. To put that into perspective, so this area of Phoenix, so from Avondale all the way out to Apache Junction, that's 522,000 acres. So, from the 303 all the way to Scottsdale, down to Chandler, Gilbert, Mesa, so this whole area, that's 500,000+ acres. So imagine all of that just burnt. And then another famous Arizona fire, not necessarily the biggest, but something you'll see in the assignment as well as the lab, and you may have heard about it. Happened in 2013. It was the Yarnell Hill Fire. It was a wildfire near Yarnell, Arizona, kind of up near Prescott. It started by a lightning strike. It was very swift moving. Again, it was not one of the largest fires. It only burned 8,400 acres. Relatively small as bigger wildfires go. And it destroyed about 200 homes and businesses. Not a very well-populated area, but it did burn 200 homes and businesses. But what made this, unfortunately, well known is it was the deadliest wildfire in Arizona history. 19 firefighters were killed from the Granite Mountain Hot Shots team when the fire kind of switched directions and overrode their position. The city of Yarnell, again, just kind of southwest of Prescott. If you've ever taken the back way to Prescott from Phoenix up the 60 and back over, you go through the town of Yarnell. Very lovely up there. These were the Granite Mountain Hot Shots. Of the team, only one survived. It was this guy here, because he actually had a separate position kind of away from the team where he was monitoring the direction of the fire, the weather and stuff. So he was away from their location purposely. They have someone kind of watching how the fire moves so it can tell them. But changing wind and weather patterns, it just happened so fast that, again, 19 firefighters lost their lives, and he was the only one that survived. This is the location in which they were kind of trapped, mountains on all sides. The fire kind of just swooped up this little canyon, no place to go. It was the premise of the movie Only the Brave. If you saw that came out not too long ago. Very good movie, great movie. But it does kind of tell the story of the Granite Mountain Hot Shots. So anyway, we'll talk more about these folks, these brave firefighters in the assignment as well as lab. So far, what about this year? In 2021, as of October 29th, these are for the U.S., these are the best statistics I could find. So far, 48,366 wildfires, over 6.5 million acres of land burned, and only 5 deaths. I mean, only 5. I know, all lives are, precious to someone, but thankfully, I guess only 5 deaths. And as far as Arizona is concerned, the best I could find was up until August 12th, which I'm assuming these numbers should be a lot higher, because August, September, even into October, it's still very warm and dry. But this is what I can find so far. 1,100 wildfires, over 550,000 acres of land burned, and 2 deaths in Arizona. Currently, as of November 8th, these are all the current wildfires that are going on. There is a prescribed burn going on in Arizona, a purposely set wildfire. More on that in a later section. But you can see, again, mostly in the west, California, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana. That's where you're going to see them. And the bigger the circle, the more acres it has already burned. These yellow ones are brand new wildfires in the past 24 hours. Looks like there's a few in California as well. All right, so let's go ahead and pause there. When we come back, we're going to figure out what the heck does all of this have to do with geology. So what is the effects on the geologic environment? We talked about how geology, topography, can shape a wildfire. Does a wildfire have the reverse? Does it affect the geologic environment? We'll pause here. I'll see you back in just a second.